Good morning and welcome along to the Racing Post show, sponsored by Racing Post Members Club, The Morning Post. I'm your host, Maddie Playle, for this morning. We've got some cracking guests and also some cracking action lined up for you. There's something for everyone. We've got Ascot, we've got Wetherby, we've got the Breeders' Cup, we've got Johnny Dineen joining us on the line. Of course, it's the big champion chase in Down Royal later on. Let's introduce you to my guests, shall we? We've got Paul Kealy on the sofa, Keels, and we've also got Alan Johns here. Welcome along to the studio, Alan. How are you doing?
Oh, really good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me along. It's exciting to be in Racing Post Studios.
Yeah, getting a bit of an education, all three of us this morning, talking about punting and jockeys and the day-to-day life of either. Keels, yeah, how does it feel?
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. You know, we all come from different walks of life, don't we? I mean, Alan, fit as a flea and riding all the time.
You and I
me
sat here.
sitting down the cafe half an hour ago, filling my face as usual before coming on here to talk about the great game that is horse racing.
Yeah. Johnny, I think we've got Johnny Dineen on the line with us. Which camp would you be in, Johnny?
Wouldn't be in the fit camp anyway, that's for sure. And that's for sure. I go for the big dirty fry at the same time. But I'm quite lazy, you know. That's putting it mildly.
It is indeed. I enjoyed that clip of you, Johnny, going viral again this week. Your chaser clip with DJ on Up in the Ante. That gave us all another laugh. I know Keels is laughing about it beside me.
I think I'm getting a few more believers, actually. Most people were very sceptical, but I think a lot of people are coming around to my way of thinking.
Well, hopefully we can find you.
Everything's crooked, Johnny, isn't it? That's the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even the hooky rashes you're eating are probably crooked. Probably gone past their sell-by date.
Well, let's hope you're not quite past your sell-by date yet. We need some winners from today's show. Coming up, well, the jump season is here, as evidenced by Alan on the sofa. I'd say you're a social media celebrity now.
Yeah, I think celebrity's fair, yeah. I don't know, I'd get involved a bit and keep myself busy, so yeah, why not?
Exactly. We had Cheltenham last weekend, of course, and then Wetherby and the Charlie Hill used to be the traditional start of the jump season. We're going to run you through our paper roundup in a moment. Then we're going to go straight on in to the Saturday previews, give you all the latest market moves and tips from the guys. We're going to go to Johnny for his Irish angle. As I mentioned, Grade 1 action at Down Royal. Get your best bets and, hopefully pick out some winners and find you some entertaining chat along the way. As always, remember to like, rate, review and subscribe. Let us know who you're fancying today. This is an interactive show, so get your opinion heard. First up, let's have a look what's in today's edition of the paper. There we are. Well, it's going to be a big ask later on, isn't it, in the Breeders' Cup Classic, City of Troy. Can he do it? Switching over to dirt, the champion 3-year-old. It's been a good meeting for Aidan O'Brien already. He had Lake Victoria, who was spectacular last night. Hope you were awake to watch that. And also Henry Matisse as well. David Jennings is the lucky man out in Del Mar. And then closer to home at Wetherby, Brave Man's Game, the 2022 winner, back to defend his crown. He's had a wind operation and he's likely to get his ground. Can he be beaten? We'll find out later on. And of course, if you're after some more tips to help your punting, the big race is part of our Smart View card. As you can see, they're 98% for Brave Man's Game. Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden, a fearsome combination. And Johnny, who's he gone for? Well, his wager of the weekend is at Ascot. We'll get more on that in a little bit later on. Here's Tom Siegel's bets, one of which we should say is a non-runner, Thunder Rock. There's quite a few in that 222 at Wetherby, the hurdle, the Bet365 hurdle, so I'll get you up to date on those in just a moment. But he likes Secret Squirrel and Solo at Ascot. Okay, we're going to take a short break now. If you've not yet signed up to our Racing Post Insider, check it out now. you go, horses to follow and all sorts on the Racing Post Insider. We're going to start with our Saturday previews now. Before we do, I'll run you through some non-runners because there are a few. At Ascot, we've got 2:35 Tripoli Flyers out in the 3:15 Tin 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 Stoner's Choice, then in the 3:45 R Power and the 4:20 Draco Malfoy, and then at Wetherby, some notable ones here in the 2:22, as I mentioned, Sandor Clegane, the Irish runner, Dashel Drasher and Thunder Rock, those three all out due to the going. Great Dawning, who you should probably know, is out of the Charlie Hall now, that's at 2:58 due to the ground as well, and the 3:32 Spirits Bay, another due to the going. Now, the first of our preview races is the 2:05 at Ascot. We've got Grade 1 novice chase form on display here in the shape of Master Chewy. Was still going well when he came down at 2 out in the Arkle, and then went very close to winning his own Grade 1 at Aintree. He is in here off a mark of 154 for the Nigel Twist and Davis team. Keels, do you think that's the best form in this race? Do you think it can see him win the race?
Well, I think it's the best form in the race, but I mean, he's got the weight to have to deal with, hasn't he? And my little worry about him is that it's 2 mile 1 furlongs. It's a stiff track, and he needs to be dropped. He needs to be dropped right on the line, I think. You know what I mean? Don't think he finds a great deal off the bridle. So whether Ascot's going to prove to be his track, that would worry me a little bit. I backed St. Siegel earlier in the week.
I was going to say, he's your horse, isn't he? You always get drawn in by this horse, don't you?
No, it's not me. No, it's actually Tom Siegel who
Tom Siegel gets drawn in by the
But
Siegel.
he has become well handicapped. I mean, he should be higher than he is, and that's probably because he came a little bit disappointing in the second half of last season. But early last season, with his place behind Boot Hill, and then he was going to win a race here, and he fell at the last. And his form with First Flow at Lingfield after that, they're all good runs. They all make him look reasonably well treated, and he's had a run, and that's the other thing. It's his second. This is his second run after a wind-up. And obviously, we would have won last year on his second run after a wind-up. So that's why I like him. I think he's the one to beat. I think Copmask is very well handicapped. I would not trust him to put in a clear round at Ascot. That's the only thing, because he's a bit clumsy. Okay. But I do think he's very well weighted. He was 20-1 earlier in the yesterday. There's a couple of nuns here as well, haven't there? So.
Yeah, Gary and Josh Moore, though, they target this meeting. I was quite interested in their other runner, Issar Dairy. He beat Martador, meet I'd Like to Know as well last season. Those horses are both rated much higher than they were now. He's got Freddie Mitchell taking £5 off. Thought he was quite interesting. If we look at the graphic there, Uncle Phil, the Mullins runner, he's come in for a little bit of support. Alan, who did you come down on in the end?
I've gone for Master Chewy, actually. I think he's the old cliche sort of graded horse in a handicap. I thought the novice division last year had loads of depth to it, and he ran well all season, really, and I just think there's loads to like about him. I just got a few question marks about a few of his sort of nearest rivals in the betting. St. Sigal, I know he's had a run, but I thought he was a bit underwhelming at Chepstow, and it wasn't, although he hasn't fallen loads of times, it wasn't completely uncharacteristic.
He has got a mistake in him, yeah. I've got to agree with that.
Questionable jumper. So I've gone for him, and then the other one I think he's 11-1 or so. I thought was maybe just written off a little too lightly was Matterhorn after pulling up last time. He made a drastic error really at the third fence in Newton Abbot, and it was a funny old race really. They went a hell of a gallop, and he was in front. He was soon behind after that mistake, and then he was chased all the way around to try and get back to the lead, and then wheeled out quite quickly before that same ditch the next time round, when, although it looked like he wasn't necessarily going to win the race, he was sort of, a P seems quite a strong, for how he's running. And then the only thing, he's off quite a high mark, 147 I think, so, but I thought he was a bit of value at 11-1.
Okay, I want to ask you about Tom Bellamy, because obviously he's now riding for Kim Bailey more often. He's got a good link up with Nigel Twist and Davis. Obviously, Sam is riding elsewhere. How is that as a jockey when you're sort of fostering these new relationships, or you've got a new job? Do you think he'll be feeling much pressure, or is it a privilege to be under that sort of scrutiny? Yeah,
well, I can't speak for Tom, but I feel like he's probably riding the crest of a wave a little bit at the moment. He rides for lots of good trainers, so they've all identified him as being a talented rider. To me, he really is a brilliant rider. He's got a good relationship with his horse. He rode him all last year. And he had a treble at Worcester a couple of weeks ago in his new partnership with Kim Bailey. So I think his confidence levels will be high, and he is a jockey who he always looks to ride with plenty of confidence anyway.
He does. I think Alan's putting us to shame. He's incredibly well researched this morning. Johnny, what did you make of this 205 at Ascot? It's competitive stuff.
Yeah, it's a tricky race. I kind of agree with Master Chewy's horse, even though he's a lot of ability, he doesn't win that many races. And I do think he's vulnerable in a ding-dong finish. Now he's lost a few races, in my opinion, that he looked like winning. And I wouldn't say he's the heartiest of characters. He's big weight here too, and it's his first run of the season. Look, he's obviously the class horse. He's top weight for a reason. I find this is a hard race to call. I think it's tricky. I was giving Marta Tar a chance, but I wonder will the ground be too fast for it? I'd imagine it will. Uncle Phil is a horse I wouldn't fancy, but he will love the ground. But I don't fancy him. I don't rate Uncle Phil as being that good a horse. And if I was given a choice, I might chance Matterhorn myself. I agree with Alan there. You've one poorish run, but he'll really like the ground and getting loose in front of you. I could see him maybe going off in front of you and maybe trying to make odd. And it's a possibility he'll stay there.
Yeah, and Paul Nicholls, some of his horses need a run, but obviously not so Matterhorn, who's been in action throughout the summer. His jumping technique's remarkable. It said he just struggled with his wind a little bit, and often jumping fences, it can strangely make it easier for horses. Am I talking nonsense there? But he's clearly transformed since going over fences.
Yeah, I think obviously you tend to have 50% more jumps when you're jumping fences than over hurdles, and you probably just get a bit more chance to breathe through a race, particularly if you are jumping well. So I think as the general pace of a race is slightly slower, so it can sort of help a horse who struggles with their wind a bit.
Thanks, Alan. You made me look like I intended to ask that. Made me look correct there. We'll move on to one of the races that's been obliterated by non-runners, the 222 at Wetherby. It's the Bet365 hurdle, a Grade 2. There was a real market mover in this race, and it's just been accentuated by those non-runners I mentioned earlier on, and that is the mare Katira for Dan Skelton and Harry Skelton, a team who have been just in flying form all week. I've been reporting from various tracks remotely, and they seem to be knocking in winners left, right and centre. A reminder of the non-runners: Dashel Drasher, that lovely old warrior, Sandal Clegane and Thunder Rock. Johnny, over to you. Will Katira be beaten? She was, the last time she ran over 3 miles, she was at odds on.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't back Katira myself. It's coming out of a handicap. I never fancy handicaps, like high-end handicappers running in these kind of graded races. And it won off 136. I'd imagine that quite a few of these horses would win off a 136. I don't really fancy the outsiders. It's probably a shootout between her and Beacon Edge at the same time. And Beacon Edge is a 10-year-old. He's probably finished like improving as such, but he is a solid horse. Get the trip, he'll go on the ground. And Katira, look, maybe she win. I think I'd go with Beacon Edge at the prices, and I do think the outsiders are really up against it. Both Twig and All Mankind. Look, maybe Katira will win, and the stable's going well. But Beacon Edge has recent form. Katira's making its seasonal debut, and I think I'd just chance Beacon Edge at the odds.
How important to you is fitness and having a recent run at this stage in the season when it comes to these races, John?
Yeah, it's massive. It can be the difference between winning and losing. And I think the further out in trip you go, the more important that recent run can be, because it's definitely harder to probably get 3 milers fitter than maybe a 2 miler. I don't know. That's me only. I don't train horses obviously, but that'd be only my guess. But look, Beacon Edge, this will be it's Derby. Maybe they might have bigger tasks for Katira later in the season. They might think she's up to Grade 1 company. I don't know. I'm only guessing that they'd probably aiming at something like the long walk, that kind of stuff. But Beacon Edge, look, it's a very beatable horse, obviously, but he has a chance in this race. On the day, I would say he definitely has a chance. Okay,
you think Katira's vulnerable here, Keels?
Well, I do, yeah. She was beaten out of sight here last year on her debut. That was at 2 miles. She was beaten at odds on when the only time she'd run at 3 miles. I think she's more of a spring horse than that. She did only win a handicap off a mark of 136. This is a Grade 2. It's probably the worst Grade 2 that's ever been run in Britain. The staying hurdlers in Britain are terrible, as we know, which is why there were 11 and 12-year-olds were winning the big races last year. So there is room at the top for something. I don't think it's going to be Katira though. I really don't. And I backed Beacon Edge at 16s. God knows what the Rule 4 is going to be with all them non-runners. It'll probably be a similar price as he is now. But I think he's, I think he's the most solid horse. He's just run really solid races pretty much every time he runs these days. And I think he's every bit as good as her. Yes, he's not improving, but he's fit. He ran perfectly well at Cheltenham last week. And
I backed him at Cheltenham.
Yeah, and he's back in the weakest graded race he'll have ever run in. He's been placed in the Stayers Hurdle himself. So yeah, I definitely think he's the bet.
Am I balmy for giving Twig a chance purely because this is his ground? I know this might be a prep for the Coral Gold Trophy,
yeah, this is
but I think he's got high class form over fences. If he can translate that over hurdles,
if he can, yeah. I mean, I don't know what other things, but you often find a horse comes back in this race. We've had plenty of chasers come and run in this race before, and they all tend to jump a bit big when they run and when they jump over hurdles because they've been chasing all the time. And that would worry me. And the other thing is, he is being primed for something else, isn't he? So how fit is he going to be?
Okay, 2 votes then for Beacon Edge so far. Alan, who are you going with?
Well, I'm going to take on Paul and Johnny here, and just caveat the fact that I'm probably a moderate jockey and not a pundit to take these two on. But I'm siding with Katira. I heard Dan Skelton talking in an interview the other day about this horse, and you could tell in his voice that he thought he had her really ready for the day.
Yeah.
She had one go at 3 Mile, and I thought I'd forgive her that run. It was a muddling race, and they got racing leaving the back, and she got caught on the back foot a little bit, and the race was over by the time she got going, really. So it certainly wasn't the trip that day. I think it'll be interesting to see, because it could actually turn into a similarly run race today, potentially. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the obvious way to ride her is to stalk round, but having done that and got beaten over 3 Mile before, I'd be keen to see how they rode her. But for me, I think she's the one, yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the last at Wetherby yesterday? Anyone? That was absolute carnage.
I
Crazy.
didn't see it. Yeah, no, apparently no. There was a bit.
Sam Twiston-Davis and Harry Skelton, the last 2 remaining after a horse decided to kamikaze the rest of the field and take them all out.
Yeah, it wasn't a good day for the Skeltons yesterday, was it? Some shorties beat, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah. 3 on shot in the first.
Okay.
They have been.
Yeah, they've been absolutely banging in the winners left, right, and
I was
centre.
going to say that's what I was.
But it wasn't great yesterday.
Okay. Do you think that's something to keep an eye on? And what do you think of this whole Nichols thing?
It's one of those things. The problem with the Skelton thing is he's almost like the preeminent trainer in Britain now, isn't he? And he's had more winners. He's had twice as many winners as anybody else.
He's gunning for that championship, isn't he?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
But they're all over bet. I mean, this horse came over from France yesterday. It went off 3s on. It was complete guesswork as to how good it was. Well, it turned out not very.
Okay. Well, we'll be following Dan Skelton's runners today. He's got some good fancies also at Ascot. A little bit more on those later on. It's over to the 240 at Down Royal now. The 3 Mile Ladbrokes Champion Chase. This is Grade 1 action. It's great to have those top class horses back out. We've got Jerry Colomb, last year's winner. He's carrying on his rivalry with Envoy Ellen, another previous winner of this race. Johnny, last year's Gold Cup second, looked fantastic when we last saw him at Aintree. He looks absolute magic, doesn't he? That's a great response. Have we got you, Johnny?
No, you were frozen. You were frozen and making quite a face.
Oh, sorry.
Go on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, take it away, Johnny. Do you think Jerry Colomb, is he going to be a this will not be beaten for you?
Yeah, I do. I was surprised he was 4 to 5, or even better. He was 10 to 11. I saw on a place 5 to 6 freely. I just think he only has to turn up here to beat these. He won here last year, and he got hampered and dragged across the track, and still managed to salvage victory from defeat. Envoy Allen is a year older now. He's not going to be like. His first run last year in Gorn was horrendous anyway. So he had a run coming here last year as well, and. Hewick is the horse that, okay, he has run some great races in that, but obviously at the same time, I thought Jerry Clom was short at 4 to 7 probably, but entitled to be. I wouldn't lay it at any price. I think it's one of the bets of the day, and I'll be amazed if he gets beaten in a race like this.
Oh, love it when Johnny comes out all guns blazing with a fancy. I must admit, I agree with him, Alan. I thought Jerry Clom, he's just pure class, isn't he? When you watch him, I mean, as a jockey, you must just be thinking he looks an armchair ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can take it for granted his form a little bit. I did a little look yesterday, and he's ran 13 times in his life. He's won 10, and he's second on every other start. I mean, what a racehorse. I think he's, what Johnny said there, Envoy Allen's a year older. He ran him close last year, but I just think if he turns up close to his best, he's just not going to be beaten. I was looking for something a little bit more, I actually thought he's still value at nearly 2-1 on, to be honest, but looking for something for a little bit of fun. I thought Visionarian changed yard to Gavin Cromwell, and he actually put in a career best RPR last time, and he's still got a bit to find, but 28-1, 9 going 10, I just thought, 50p each way. I'm not sure if you want to go all out, push to a pound.
What do you make of his staking plan, Johnny? Sound good?
Yeah, I'd be keeping it to 50p each race and back in Visionarian. I think the best bet is 7-4 on, back the favourite and collect after the race. That's my way looking at it anyway.
Johnny, I want to stick with you because obviously talking about this division leads us to the Gold Cup. Galopin Des Champs, he's 1-2, he looks spectacular. I know Tom Siegel thinks Jerry Colombe could reverse the form at Cheltenham in March. What do you make of the top guns in this 3-mile chasing division? Do you think there's going to be anything to upset them this year?
I'm sure. I suppose you have the obvious one. The horse that won the Brown Advisory, in fact, the foil. He's going to come into the reckoning. Plus, you have other horses like the likes of Corbett's Cross. They could stake a claim. I know the way you're thinking. McManus is a whole host of horses here that could possibly dip their toe into Gold Cup wars. The one thing about the favourite, he's going for 3 in a row. Didn't like to read the other day that he'd already had a little nick and was going to miss Punchestown. And I just find when the first thing you hear about a horse is he's small, and the next thing you pick up the paper someday and he's out for the season. I just think when horses get little niggles, and the longer they go on in their career, it could develop into something more. And he's one horse I definitely wouldn't dream of back in ante-post now. When a horse misses a race anyway, it's a desperate bad start to a season, in my opinion. Maybe he'll come back and. But he's not going to run until Christmas now. The next thing you'll hear, he won't be running at Christmas. The next thing you'll know, quite often, that he's not running anymore. Like that kind of stuff. Or as out for the season. He'd be the one horse I definitely wouldn't dream for the Gold Cup anyway. But there is no value in the market as such. But there will be something coming to the Gold Cup, like the likes of Corbett's Cross, who will definitely stake a claim at some stage that we don't really think is really up to Gold Cup class, possibly.
Okay, so Johnny fighting there against Galopin Des Champs. Interesting thoughts indeed from him. Worth saying, Sam Ewing is on Jerry Colombe here. He enjoyed a treble at Down Royal yesterday in this his role for Gordon Elliott, obviously with Jack Kennedy out of action. Interesting to see him, another jockey who's thriving, coming through. Keels, Jerry Colombe, you were smiling with some of the stuff that Johnny was saying.
Yeah, there's his character Johnny, and he makes you laugh, no doubt about it. I mostly agree. I think he probably would. It wouldn't surprise me if he makes a meal out of it.
Why?
That's the thing, because he made a meal out of it last year on ground that probably suited him better than the ground is going to be today. You've got to remember, Envoy Allen has run at this meeting 5 times. His form figures are 1-1, 1-1, 2, and that 2 was been beaten a neck last year. So he's always primed for this meeting. I know he hasn't had a run this year. It wouldn't surprise me if it was tight again. I do expect Jerry Colombe to win because he's the young up-and-comer. But I'm more of a coward than Johnny, and I wouldn't be lumping on.
What about his analysis on Galopin Des Champs? Do you think that's nonsense, or do you think you'd be worried that he's not going to be out?
Listen. Like you said, when horses miss a race, it's exactly the same. We've had this before with several horses, especially from the Mullins camp, where you say, "Well, it's missing this race and it's missing this race," and the next thing they're done. It does happen once horses get injured. So we'll have to wait and see. Let's hope not, because I think he's a fantastic horse, and I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him at least turn up and go for a third one. and he'd still be the one to beat if he does. But let's hope he's out at Christmas or just after, and we see the real deal.
Yeah, let's hope so indeed. From the Irish 3-mile chasers to the British then, and the 2:58 at Wetherby is again over the 3 miles. The Bet365 Charlie Hall Chase, the Grade 2, mentioned it at the top of the shop. Brave Man's Game, the 2022 winner, coming back to regain his crown. We've got Irish representation here though in Conflated and French Dynamite. Have they come over to Wetherby because they thought this would be easier than taking on Jerry Colon? Then the Real Whacker hang in there, and Sam Brown complete the field. Grey Dawning mentioned before, the ground just too lively for him. Not going to run, I don't think, at Carlisle either tomorrow. So we'll have to wait a little bit longer to see the final Turners winner back in action. But nevertheless, this is a good race. I'm just looking at the Rating Post site here, and interesting spotlight verdict. More on that in a moment. What's your verdict, Paul Kealy? Is this, for me, the wind up and the ground are really in Brave Man's Game's favour?
They're absolutely in his favour, but Paul Nicholls has just had his worst October this century. And it just seems that his horses are a long way further behind than he'd want them to be. He's gonna come and hit form soon, as we well know. But can you back a sheet? Given the amount of short price horses that he's had beaten over the last few weeks, can you really be lumping on him? He needed to run last year, Brave Man's Game, didn't he? That mistake at the last knocked the stuffing right out of him. I mean, he's the one to beat, obviously. But I thought Conflated's best form last year is on a par with him. Definitely. Second to John Bon. He's been, both of them have been placed in the Gold Cup, but he ran some really good races when he got round last year, and Wetherby's fences are at least easy to jump. He tipped up at the first on his return, so he's not the most trustworthy himself, but I think his form's absolutely on a par with Brave Man's Game's best from last year. And I just worry about the fitness of the Nicholls. I don't see anything else getting in it, to be honest. I really don't. I don't think they're good enough.
You know that I have an interesting view on this race.
I know that you have an interesting bet, and I know that Spotlight have tipped Hang in there.
Yeah, that's the one I was going to reference. You can't see it at all.
Yeah, but summer jumpers, when the big guns come out, they just get lapped, don't they?
Mouse Morris, of course, won the race last year. He's back again with French Dynamite, who won last time. We've got form intertwining with that. That was the race Conflated unseated in. Then Hewick, who's at Down Royal, he finished third in that contest. So there's lots of interest in this race. I'm a big The Real Whacker fan. Alan, I love this horse. Love watching him run. He was another unseated last time. What's your analysis of this? How do you sum it up?
Well, I'm with Paul myself. I'm with Conflated is slightly influenced by the fact that all my other picks to this point have been favourites, so I was very keen to and there's another non-favourite to come, so stay tuned, guys. But I just think that, like Paul said, Conflated's best form last year ties in with as good as Brave Man's Game, and Brave Man's Game would be interesting. It revolves around whether he just didn't have the smoothest campaign last year, and whether he can come back, start fresh, and resume his best form this year. Then he probably could go and win. But I just feel like he maybe had the life run out of him a bit last year. I do feel like the fact that he blew up and got a bit tired and got beaten in this race last year probably incentivised him to make sure he's a little bit fitter for this race this year. So I'd actually see that as perhaps a positive in his favour.
I'm sure they would have wanted a lot of their other horses to be fitter than they were. That's what that is me. They just seem to be further behind than I think they expected.
Yeah, I think that's another.
That's what would worry you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that would be obviously Nicholls' form, another thing to consider. But I just think at the prices, I think he's 3 times the price or whatever. So I think Conflated is the one for me.
Okay, Johnny's going to call me out. Keels has practically already called me out, but I think Sam Brown's quite interesting here. Anthony Honeyball, 40% in the last 14 days, 2 winners from 5 runners. I know he's a 12-year-old. I love how you put Johnny on the screen because he's just going to be absolutely howling at me here.
Definitely no more than 50p this one, Johnny.
Yeah, this horse was in cracking form last season, just got better and better. I know he's only a handicapper, but he ran well in this race before, and I'm clearly talking from singing from the same hymn sheet as Ben Hutton, who likes Hang in there. I just think I could see there being a shock in this race. Conflated, he's not the most reliable when it comes to his jumping, as mentioned. Brave Man's Game, there are some concerns just about whether that Gold Cup performance a couple of years ago left its mark, and whether he's quite up to the standard that he once was. I do love the Real Whacker, as I said, but I saw Sam Brown at 40-1 last night, and I just thought, I don't think that's the craziest thing in the world. I think he's going to run a very good race for Rex Dingle and Anthony Honeyball. But anyway, Johnny, over to you. You can tell me I'm talking rubbish now.
Listen, it's easy to be dismissive of 33-1 chance. Of course it is. I mean, and you could be right. I don't think that the front two are bomb-proof, yet I do think one of the two of them will probably win at the same time. I don't really fancy the likes of Finch Dynamite, Real Whacker, even hanging, or Sam Brown for that matter, to be honest. Brave Man's Game, like he's had a wind up. I'd say that there's a good chance this could be at least, it's definitely his second, and it could even be his third one of them. You know what I mean? So when you're going into that territory with Gammy Wind and 9-year-olds, like it can't be good. But I would say one thing though, like it has to be his derby, because he will win no other race at this level for the season. So I'd be disappointed if I owned him and my trainer didn't have him cherry ripe for a race like this. But like, what are you keeping him for? The Betfair Chase, he won't win that. He won't win the King George. He won't win the Gold Cup. So like, this is an open goal for him. If he's like, if he doesn't win this race, he will definitely not win a race for the season anyway. This is an absolutely gilt-edged opportunity for him to beat Conflated, who is a bit in and out. And the fact that he was Conflated being aimed at the cross-country division last year is worrying, I think, anyway. I think if they thought anything of him, really, they wouldn't have been going down that road. I know he did run well in the Ryanair after, but he runs well in races without winning them. He's fallen races. He's a bit of a messer going around the place, but he will be better left-handed to suit him, and I think he is probably the only danger. But Brave Man's Game is no penalty this season. He had one last year. Even last year's run against Gentleman's Game could be good enough to win this. And I'd say if his wind holds up, he'll win this. I'll be disgusted with him if he doesn't. Even though I never really rated Brave Man's Game, he's dropped into a grade here that he should be very comfortable with. And I'd be amazed if he's not ready to win this. And I'd say this is the only race he'll win this season.
Johnny, just love having you on this show. You're making us all giggle here in the studio. Tactic skills, a word on what you think's going to happen here. Is Brave Man's Game, Harry Cobden, going to go forward if he's thinking his horse is fit?
We thought Conflated would go forward, wouldn't he?
The Real Whacker could go forward as well.
Real Whacker goes forward, doesn't he? He chased Flowing Porter for a little way before he fell last time. So I don't think they'll hang around.
Okay, and do you think that will put pressure under Brave Man's Game? Exposing that fitness, perhaps?
It's a case of is he fit enough? It's as simple as that. Like Johnny said, he should be. But my concern is that a lot of Paul Nicholls' other horses should have been as well. And they're obviously further behind than they had imagined.
Final quick question.
We'll wait and see, but I'd take him on.
Would Grey Dawning have won if he'd have run here?
I'd have taken him on as well, because he was giving weight to horses that on form at the moment are better than him.
Okay.
And by a fair way as well, £9 and £10. So it would have been a big ask.
Okay, back over to Ascot now. I think this is the trickiest race of the day. It's the 3:15, the Lavazza Handicap Hurdle. We've got a horse in here who didn't run the other day, was pulled out at Cheltenham, Fiercely Proud. Secret Squirrel, Tom Siegel's selection, is in here. Break My Soul. Right So Tom, who I know one of our panel is very strong on. Stream of Stars has been on a roll lately. Affodil, Tapley, Fireflyer, Archamp, Jour de Bejon and Endless Escape. I thought this was a really tough race, Alan. Who would you most like to be riding is the question, I guess.
Well, I suppose who you'd most like to be riding and who you'd back maybe aren't always the same thing. I'd probably just pick the favourite if I was. Whatever's favourite at the off, I'd probably ride, because that's probably the most likely winner. But I have picked...
You put a lot of trust in the punters then. You think they're quite smart?
Yeah, they get it right a lot more than me, which makes me question why I'm sat here a little bit. But anyway, I've got a selection for you here anyway, a Stream of Stars. He came back from a 900, nearly a 3-year layoff, to win a few weeks ago, and thankfully what really sort of bolsters my confidence in him is that he's come out again since and backed it up, and he should be just hard and fit now at this stage. I thought he was generous, the handicapper was generous to him after his last run, albeit it was a 5 or 6 runner field around Fontwell. He absolutely dotted up, and he won by 9 lengths on the bridle. and he's gone up £8 for that. It was a real solid horse of Mulholland's in second, who's been, getting beaten half a length in second and third his previous couple of starts, and there's quite a typical profile of horse coming into this race, and he's a bit different to those. But there's obviously the top few in the betting, which includes Fiercely Proud and Secret Squirrel, who've got form interlinking with each other. But I just think Stream of Stars, the Twiston Davis horses this time of year, are flying. He's got them fit, and this horse is proven fit. My one slight question mark is that he has just dotted, he's gone in uncompetitively ran races, along with the fact that, haven't got the depth of this race. It's just if a couple like the Chris Gordon horse go on and make it a test, it will be a different challenge for him.
Yeah, I like him too. It's an interesting backstory. As you said, great pedigree. Used to be owned by Lady Bamford on the flat and was trained by John Gosden. Has some interesting form. Nigel Twiston-Davis and Connections clearly been incredibly patient with Stream of Stars. I think he could be up to running a good race.
My nap of the day, I should point out, guys.
Alan, you're not supposed to reveal that yet.
Sorry. I don't know.
Everyone's going to turn off now. They got it.
Yeah,
you've got what you wanted.
You've got what you
off
need,
you
guys.
go.
Off you go. Get stuck in.
Oh, we'll make sure Alan's up to speed next time. Someone should have told him, shouldn't
I wasn't
they?
briefed.
I blame the producers. Keels, you like one in this race, but you're not sure he's 100% going to run. Is that right?
Well, somebody mentioned to me he might not run on the ground, but right so Tom. I hope he does, because I've backed him a much bigger price than 13-2.
Go on. Tease.
He was campaigned like a good horse.
No, I was meaning what price did you back him at?
Oh, 14s, I think.
Okay.
I can't remember. It was on Monday, so. But yeah, he was campaigned like a good horse by Tom Mullins as a 3-year-old. He ran second to Zarak the Brave. He then went straight into on his second start into the Triumph, finished 6th to Lossiemouth. Then finished 4th to Zenta at Aintree, and then he just dotted up in a maiden hurdle at the end of the and jumped superbly when he did so. He got a mark of 126 in Ireland, and he's got that mark over here, which basically means the BHA is giving him a little bit back for his absence, because it's 546 days. But apparently he was bought to replace
Oscar Elite.
Oscar Elite, yeah. And I don't know how much they paid for him, but he's got a mark of 126, and he's just one of those horses that could be miles better than that. You know what I mean? He hasn't had many tries. He showed lots of promise as a juvenile, and he's coming back with a new trainer off a low mark. And it's just one of those, I think, I could easily see this horse having, a 140 rating or something, you know what I mean? And he's off 126. So he interests me. I backed Affodil at a big price yesterday. I see there's been a few quid for him as well now. I mean, it's just a case that he won the Scottish County Hurdle last year at Musselburgh, but then he finished 5th to Absurd in the county. Then he was 3rd at Aintree. Then he was 4th in the Scottish Champion Hurdles, only beaten a length and a half or so. All off £3 higher mark than he's running off now. And he was a big price because everyone's got Paul Nicholls out of form, but obviously he's had the run. Finished midfield in the Silver Trophy at Chepstow last time, and he'll come on for that. And he was just way too big a price with that body of work from last season. So they'd be my two against the field, but I am hopeful that Right So Tom is a long way ahead of his mark.
Okay, I thought this was a tough race. Everyone seems to have a strong fancy. Johnny, who did you come down on?
Look, there are quite a few horses I'd say well handicapped here. I'd say Secret Squirrel is well handicapped. I'd say Right So Tom is well handicapped. I'd say even Stream of Stars is probably still well handicapped. Again, I don't really fancy Fiercely Proud myself. This is a much stronger race than it was to run in Cheltenham. And like the young lad got thrown off with it, and it, like, okay, it officially it didn't run, but like it was doing 1,000,000 mile an hour the last time I saw it over there. Anyway, like on loose, you know what I mean? It can't have done it any good anyway. You know what I mean? What it was doing over there, I wouldn't fancy that. I think Break My Soul has no chance in this race. The one I'm going to go with is Tapley. It has recent form. It was second in the Swinton Hurdle. Now it got a £6 penalty for winning in Plumpton, and like you could say, okay, like it has form at like the likes of Plumpton, Fake, and them kind of tracks. Like this is a big step up for it, but I'd say it's not a bad type of horse. And the girl is claiming Elizabeth Gale is riding. She's claiming £7 off it, so she's actually negating the claim in theory anyway. So or negating the penalty, I should say, in theory. And he's a progressive horse. Now without being now there are probably horses better handicapped than him in the race, But I just think he has recent form. He ain't a bad type of horse. He's improving, and I'd expect him to be on the premises. Maybe something will beat him. I could see him. I can definitely see him. Obviously, 16 to 1. Of course, I can see him getting beat. But look, I do think there are probably horses better handicapped. But on the day again, he's a horse I think will be on the premises. I'd expect him to be in the first 3 or 4 anyway.
Okay, interesting shout there from Johnny with Tapley. We're going to move on to the 3:45 at Ascot. It's the Sodexo Live Gold Cup handicap chase over the 3 miles. And Kim Bailey, he's back. We mentioned him earlier in his new link-up with Tom Bellamy. He won this race in 2019 with Vindication. To me, Chianti Classico looks a very similar type, a similar mould. Of course, he won the Ultima last season, was very impressive in doing so that day. Can he take the step up to higher class races this season? That'll be the question. Henry de Bromhead, who had a good time at Cheltenham Showcase meeting, he's back. He sends Am I Right over. Then we've got high stakes player for Tom Lacey, progressive horse last year. Neon Moon was in action, winning action at Chepstow. And then Dan Skelton, Miles from Wicklow, Keelan Woods gets the ride down to Solo, Hidden Depths, Phlegmatic, 2 for Gold and Kitty's Light. Your reminder that Our Power is a non-runner. Alan, I'll give you first say on this race. Chianti Classico, I think he's just a lovely horse, but it's a lot of weight to carry, isn't it, 12 stone?
Yeah, and he's obviously he's quite a short price in the market as well. I've gone with him, but I'm not too strong on it. I think it's a tough, it'll have to be a good performance to win. I just couldn't pick anything else that I thought was going to win more strongly, really. So not over strong. I thought high stakes player is interesting as well. He's 4 from 5 over fences, and Tom Lacey does seem to be able to get a horse well handicapped and keep them progressing, and they do come to these bigger tracks and win when they come to the higher marks. So he was of interest as well, but I've gone for Chianti Classico, but not overly strong.
Okay, what do you make of that? Chianti Classico, can he be another Vindication Keels?
He can be. He's obviously got the potential to develop into a high class horse. I think he really relishes soft ground. Now I know he's won on good ground. He won on good ground here, but he didn't jump particularly well. And obviously this is a much more competitive race at Ascot. I mean, he doesn't jump so well here. I don't think he'd quite get away with it. But you can certainly see him winning. He's the most talented horse in the race, I think, without a shadow of a doubt. I backed Am I Right, and I got absolute dog's abuse from David Jennings yesterday. I can't, I'd have to wait another 10.5 hours for the watershed if I could read the text out that he kept sending me. Right, but apparently he said the horse owes him millions, so he thinks it's a complete rogue. But he is a good ground horse who I think wants to go right-handed. He was 5th in the Bet365 Gold Cup last year, and he's run some other really good races when the ground has been decent. So I think he'll be in the frame. I wouldn't have a monster opinion on the rest of them, to be honest, but I just think he's solid one for the frame.
I thought Hidden Depths was quite interesting. Bit of a dark horse for Neil Mulholland. Won at Perth, at Market Raisin last time, beating Miles from Wicklow. So has that piece of form in the book. And I just thought he could be a sneaky one off a light weight. If there's pace pressure here, I think that could suit him quite well. Johnny, who are you with?
I agree, but I'm going to go with Am I Right. I think the ground is absolute key to him. Am I Right is a good to firm ground horse. He wouldn't never really get his ground in Ireland. He's going to get it here, and he's a brilliant jumper. He is fit from his runs like in the Stall and in Galway and in Kilbeggan in the summer. So he is fit. He's ready to go, and this is the chance he has to win a 100 grand race. Like, I mean, he as opposed to Chianti Classico and the likes of high stakes player, like you'd imagine that they'd be like targeted at, not saying that they wouldn't be fit or 100, but they're unlikely to be really razor sharp for a race like this. It's a start off point for them. Like, they'll be running in these kind of races anyway throughout the season, so they'll get other chances to win big pots. Whereas Am I Right is getting his chance here. His jumping is his forte. If there was more fences up the home straight, there's only 2 there, I'd fancy him even more, because jumping he really attacks his fences. He could just be vulnerable from the back of the last. I'd like him, if I was on him, I think I'd like him to be 3 or 4 in front jump of the last. Otherwise, he could get run out of it. He is not the quickest in the world, but I think this track will suit him. Big fences, everything's in his favour. If he's ever to show in a race like this is his golden opportunity. He's not a great price now at 5-1 at the same time, but I would expect him to be on the premises at the very least.
Okay, that's it for Saturday previews. We're going to take a quick breather and then we're going to go back to Johnny in just a moment. Welcome back to the Morning Post. It's been great to have you with us so far this morning. Make sure to join in at the live chat as always. We're going to go back to Johnny Dineen now. Johnny, it's your Irish Angle segment, so take it away with your fancies. But before you do, let's have a quick chat about Upping the Ante. Back on 12th of November. You looking forward to that? You looking forward to giving DJ plenty of stick? I hope so.
Yeah. Look, sure, we'll give him a go anyway. That's right. Yeah, he's not too bad at giving me the stick as well. So I'll be able from though. Don't worry, I will. I'll chance him. What about anyway as regards Down Royal? Today's. Do you want me to go through Down Royal? Is it?
You tell me, Johnny. It's your section.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll do my best in Down Royal. First race, 3-year-old hurdle this time of the year. I find 3-year-old hurdles tricky, especially on the back of like one run. You look at a horse; they can improve markedly from one run, from the first run to their second, and sometimes you don't know what you're looking at second time out. So I'm going to leave the first race alone. The second race is Romeo Coolio. Now, would you believe this? I've actually backed this, and I know not many people would back these kind of horses now. It's 9-2 but to me, like it's what 20% you're getting for your money. Like Madoff wasn't paying 20%, was he? Like, you know what I mean? So and you won't lose it here. You'll get your money back in 4 minutes. I mean, what price would a horse be to go around in the school and not get injured? That's what you're betting on here. So I know fellas won't be interested in betting 5-1 on horses, but I'd say it represents about a 25-1 on chance in my eyes. Anyway, the next race, the next two races are hard. I think Jerry Calam is a good thing. I do think that will win. Found the 50 is one favourite that could be vulnerable to Pinkerton. That has a chance of beating it. It's a two-hand reel, but I wouldn't back Found the 50, and I'm told that the last horse is another absolute stonewall certainty.
Okay.
I know it's a certainty it's priced now at the same time, but that's alien this meeting. You have to be able to if you want to back these horses, you have to take bad prices, because like there were bad prices yesterday, but you have to 4 and 1 at the same time, and I'd say it'll be more of the same today.
Well, we have to say we do endorse responsible gambling on this show, of course. Johnny, short prices, though, as you say, if you believe a horse should be even shorter than it is, then in theory you're getting the value, aren't you? It's not the way I like to punt, but that's your technique.
I don't back every 2-9 chance. I'll back a 2-9 chance if I think it should be 1-20. If I think it has to break down to get beaten, I'd back one at 2-9. Now, I think the last horse I backed at this kind of odds was I backed Stateman at 2-7 in the maiden hurdle in Limerick. It has to represent, like,
is that the one he fell in?
No, he stood up. I backed him. He was beat and at 4-6 or even money, I think, in Leopardstown. He fell that day, but he was in the conditional riders race in Limerick before he ran the county hurdle. Like, he had to genuinely fall to get beat in a hurdle. Now, I wouldn't back a horse at 2-9 in the novice chase at the same time. The fences are just too big. But a hurdle race, look, I don't know. I think sometimes it's 20-1 can be bad value. You know what I mean? Bad value is really whatever chance you think it has a win. If you think a 20-1 chance is a 10-1 chance, it's great value. But if a 20-1 chance represents 1,000-1, it's not a great price at the same time.
Okay, Alan, being a jockey, do you listen to Johnny and think, I know there's so much that can go wrong with these short price favourites, or do you think class is class and that's the main important thing?
No, I think his theory from his point, obviously, if you're riding a horse and it's 5-1 on, you know, you just really want to make sure you keep it as simple as possible, and it does cross your mind that things can go wrong. From a punting point of view, if you think it's putting it against what Bernie Madoff returns makes it good value, then I think the logic is sound. Yeah.
Keels, it's not your approach, is it? Back in short price favourites like that.
I haven't got the bottle. Simple as that.
No.
Right, you know.
Sorry, could I ask Alan a question there, right?
Go on, yeah.
Just say you were schooling a horse that was going to a big race, and some trainer said to you, "Will you come to Exeter, and will you school this one round the track, over hurdles, or you just want to give him a pop over hurdles on his own?" Now I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how many of them would break down if there's no other? Like, how many of them would not finish like on 4 legs?
Yeah, it'd be, I don't know, would it be 1 in 1,000, if not bigger?
That's Romeo Collio's odds, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because nothing would even be next door near him in this race. He'll be going down to the first 5 in front, and no other horse will want to finish within an ass's roar of him, I think.
Yeah, no, I actually think that's fair, yeah, can't argue.
How are you enjoying your education from the
I
Racing
love it.
Post
It's no
today?
better job than listening to Johnny Dineen riff, is there? So yeah, I'm loving it.
Absolutely. We're going to go from Down Royal, partly at least, to Del Mar then. The 941 that we're seeing in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, can he do it? That's the big question. City of Troy, the Derby winner, the Eclipse winner, the Jumpmont International winner. He's now going on the dirt to take on America's best, the likes of Fierceness and Sierra Leone. We've then got the Japanese runners in there, Forever Young, Ushba Tesoro and Derma Sotogaki. It's just an absolutely fascinating story, this. Can he transfer that brilliant quality, given that he's by the Triple Crown winner Justify, over to the dirt? What are we thinking? Let us know in the comments. Who do you think is going to win the Breeders' Cup Classic? Keels, I know you're not terribly enthusiastic about this.
My standard response to Breeders' Cup.
Yes. They said outside, they said Keels won't want to talk about this race. I said, tough, he'll have to. It's his job.
My standard response is don't know, don't care.
It's what you get paid to do. Come on, you can talk about it.
I do sort of care about this one because, as a City of Troy has made it interesting. But my answer is still I don't know. I've got no idea. I've never heard of any of the other horses. But
what do you think of him as an individual and the way he moves and the impressions that he's given this season? Because he was so highly rated. The hype from Aidan O'Brien is sky high, saying he's the best he's ever trained. Do you believe it?
Well, he's not on the figures, is he? I mean, he's had better horses on the figures. He's still got to do it. And given that he's so far clear of these on form already, he could... You know what I mean? He needs to win this by a wide margin to justify that, and then he's going to start afterwards. So I don't think he's going to end up, being according to all the speed figures and ratings and handicappers, etc. I don't think he's going to be top of the pile. He's very, very good. Don't get me wrong, but he's got a mark in the 120s. I mean, I always have my personal benchmark for a superstar has to be an official rating of at least 130, and he ain't got one yet. So. Yeah, but he's a cracking horse, and it's fascinating to see a Derby winner go over and try and win on the filth that they run on over there. But I mean, I can't stand dirt racing in general. I'll tune into that. I won't watch another race.
It's good for the sport, though, that they're trying something different, isn't it? Do you not think it brings attention to an achievement that no horse has done before, what he's trying to do?
I think we all build it up because we're all fascinated, but the general world couldn't care less. And that's the actual fact. They couldn't give a monkeys. We go up and up and up and up and up and up. But if you're not interested in racing, you're not going to care where it's going.
And I think Alan would say this as well, though.
He could be running up and down Mount Everest, couldn't he?
But we have a responsibility to try and sell the sport. Otherwise, we're out of a job, aren't we?
Absolutely. But by the same token, if you don't care, you don't care.
No, and I guess that happens a lot in sport. Certain things just capture people's imagination, certain things don't. But I think a lot of people would definitely be interested in this great British hope coming over. It's Irish hope.
Irish hope. Yes, come on, get it right. I've just got my Irish passport, by the way, so I'm in the camp. I'm fascinated by it because he's a really, really good horse, and he's going over and he's trying something new. And yeah, you should build it up, but I don't think we should kid ourselves that we're making people interested in it.
No, I think that, the reach of racing, I mean, that's something you try and do with your content, isn't it? Get people who aren't into racing, more into racing, engaged on a bit more of a casual level.
Yeah, I think just speaking for myself, I try and make any content I make to be accessible. I don't think City of Troy going to America is going to transcend the sport, but as a racing fan, just bringing it back to myself, it's got me interested in the race.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated to see if he can go in there. I'm rooting for him. I feel like a fan of European racing, Irish racing. Yeah, I got that one right.
Thanks, Alan.
I'm rooting for him to go over there, and I'd love for him to absolutely blitz them and everybody to say, God, Aidan, you were right. He really is your best horse ever. Because I just think that would be brilliant. Whether that'll happen or not, I don't know, but I'm certainly will be tuning in to find out.
It's what makes the world go round, isn't it, Johnny? I mean, you come on here and you say a 2 to 9 shot's the best thing ever and it can't lose. And Aidan O'Brien's saying, well, you know, City of Troy is the best he's ever had. We need bold claims like this. We need to get people engaged. And City of Troy has been a magnificent horse on track, even if you're not a fan of all the sort of the talk and the sort of jibing, I'd say, when it comes to hyping these up. I mean, do you think he can do it?
I should. Of course, he can do it. I'd say, look, if he handles the surface properly, he will do it. You know what I mean? But that's what you're betting on here. I'm like Paul. I don't know the other horses. I've never heard of them. I don't follow American racing, so I wouldn't have a clue. He's running on a different surface, obviously, completely. I'd say that's the burning question, and you probably know your fate pretty early on. It's once the bell goes and he gets into a rhythm and he something like. He's a better horse than horses that have nearly won it. Like, if Ravens Pass can win it, surely City of Troy can win it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that was on Polytrack though, wasn't it?
What was it? I even the clue what it was.
Yeah, it was.
But like,
that was on Polytrack. Yeah.
But they've missed it before with was it War something nearly won it. Giants Causeway nearly won it.
Right, yeah.
So like, it's not beyond the bounds of possibility. I suppose it all depends on the individual horse. I have no idea what he'll handle the ground on. Like there are 2 to 1 chances running every day of the week that you'd have an idea whether a horse will handle the ground. I have no idea. Like for racing's sake, you'd be hoping he wins, but I won't be backing him. I won't be laying him either because I genuinely really know nothing about the opposition, and I can't really have a bet when I don't know what he's taking on or what kind of the ground. I was listening to your man Jerry Bailey last night on the television, and. Like, he's ridden a lot of horses on dirt and grass, and he said, looking at the horse, he was very doubtful that he'd handle the ground. That was interesting to me. Now, that would be slightly worrying for anyone maybe thinking the back of him. I assume, like, he's ridden enough of horses to know what he's talking about.
Okay.
Is it drug-free, the Breeders' Cup these days, or are they all juiced up to the eyeballs as normal?
I wouldn't know. Is it fall within the HISA? Does anyone know? Any producers know?
You can run in Lasix anyway, can't you? They're for sure.
Oh, right. So they're all still at it then, yeah.
You're very much a cynic, aren't you, on this? I tried to get everyone engaged. I think for what it's worth,
I hate it.
The best local horse, Fierceness, he's pretty good. But other than that, I'm not sure that the American dirt horses are a real vintage bunch this year. I think they might have found a good opportunity for City of Troy. I'm hoping he can do it. So we'll definitely be one of those tuning in later tonight. If you're of the opinion more of Keels and Johnny, you're not sure what to expect, then hopefully you will be more sure what to expect in Britain and Ireland. We're going to get the naps now. We wait with bated breath to move on. I tell you what, I'll go to you first, Alan, as our guest. You've already ruined it anyway, if we're honest. You've told us who your main selection of the day is.
For that reason, I'm going to change my nap. No, I'm only joking. Stream of Stars. I just think he's my biggest price fancy of the day, and I just feel like I liked what he did last time, and so I'm going for him. I think he's 8 to 1.
Yeah, he's not the price.
On that graphic, I think those prices are wrong, because if Sam Brown's a 5 to 1 shot, you can
worst set of prices. Do not back any of those apart from Leader in the Park. Have your nuts on that.
Yes, indeed. Don't be backing Sam
Brown
the
others.
5 to 1.
The Alan Johns factor, I think, is must have gone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they've seen what you like and they've thought,
Are you doing big numbers today, guys? You must be,
Absolutely. Okay, so it's Stream of Stars for Alan. That's in the 3:15, if I'm reading that correctly, at Ascot. Keels, you're sticking with Right So Tom.
I'm sticking with Right So Tom. Yeah, he's 13 to 2, by the way. He's not 11 to 4.
Okay. Remind us why. Just think he could be incredibly well.
I think it's one of those. He's lightly raced. He's come off a long break, and he just could be well ahead of that mark. It's still a bit of a guess, really. You know what I mean? But he's got potential.
Well, I've had well and truly a guess. I didn't know what to make of today. I like Leader in the Park, the same as Johnny, but I ended up going with Sam Brown. Just think something crazy could happen in the Charlie Hall. Trainer's in form, run well in the race before, was in incredible form when we were last seen. His rating puts him bang there. You know, he's rated higher than French Dynamite. He's rated higher than an 8 to 1 shot in the same race, and I think he could outrun his odds. Johnny, you've stolen my nap. The horse I thought was going to run well at Ascot. Tell us why.
Yeah, look, I think he's a well, what did I say? The cliche about going to be a better chaser. He's every inch of chase. He's a fine big horse. um, he won a novice hurdle in Doncaster last year. He up in Caston at the end of the season or in April in Cheltenham, and he didn't run too bad at the same time. But he only spent like 4 runs over hurdles, so he's guaranteed to be a much better chaser. 1-2-1. He lobbed in here. Like if this horse hasn't, I'd imagine he's a 140 plus horse. Like he will be over fences. So I'll be gobsmacked if he can with here. And the opposition are well, Valou is Henderson horse. That might be dangerous, but Bad is a stable companion. So obviously Jones picks him over that. And Samarive I couldn't fancy, and Wat Pat wouldn't win if it started at 1 o'clock. And so I'd fancy Leader in the Park very, very strongly. Though I'd expect him. I'd be hoping he makes all the running, and if he does, I couldn't see nothing get near him.
Fantastic, strong stuff from Johnny there. Just make us all laugh on the sofa. And that's all we have time for on today's show. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, comment, like, subscribe. Join us again in a week's time. Thanks to Johnny, to Keels, to Alan for joining us. We'll see you again in a week.